Today, I'll prove that it's still possible to travel from Paris to Lyon without using a TGV, although you should bring a baguette for the ride. I'll walk you through the route, dive into the history of these tracks, peek a little bit under the hood of these trains, and show you the scenery that makes this journey so charming. Come along! Hi and welcome to Paris-Bercy, the ugly duckling of Paris rail stations, which nowadays has also a gigantic name to satisfy several regional sensibilities, but still called Paris-Bercy by everyone. Opened in 1977 on the site of a former freight yard, the station originally served the now defunct auto train service. Over the years, it became an extension of the elegant Gare de Lyon, being nowadays the Paris terminus for trains to Nevers, Clermont-Ferrand and, of course, the TER to Lyon that will ride today. It's accessible by buses, taxis, and there is a station for metro lines 6 and 14 nearby. But let's head to the tracks and find our train for today's trip. And here it is, my train for today, a Z54500, part of Alstom's Coradia family, called Regiolis by SNCF. These units are regional workhorses built for flexibility. They are modular, come in different lengths and power setups, and you'll see them all over the TER network. The Z54500s in particular were bought by the Bourgogne-Franche-Comté region for longer services, like this one from Paris to Lyon, have 6 cars and a length of 110 meters. They are not trying to be a TGV. Instead, they're designed for sensible, comfortable regional travel with wide doors for quick boarding, open interiors, accessible spaces, and large windows. Their top speed is of 160 km per hour, which is okay for conventional routes and helps keep journey times acceptable. Practically speaking, they're quiet, reasonably roomy, and simple to maintain, which why SNCF and the French regions rely on the Regiolis family so heavily, with almost 400 in service today. They are not glamorous, common rather than flashy, but dependable, efficient, and a reasonably good match for the kind of trip we're doing today. Although the previous version of this train, with corail cars, was much better. But let's board, put this trip on the rails, and see how this one performs. Simple functional interiors, comfy enough for the ride. I'd choose a seat at the very front of the train.
Bienvenue à bord du train Mobigo à destination de Lyon Part-Dieu. Il desservira Sens, Joigny, La Roche-Migène, Saint-Florentin-Virginie, Tonnerre, Nuit-sous-Ravière, Montbard, Les Lots-Malaisia, Dijon-Ville, Beaune, Chagny, Chalon-sur-Saône, Tournu, Mâcon-Ville, Belleville-sur-Saône, Villefranche-sur-Saône, Saint-Germain-au-Mont-d'Or. En train, tous responsables. Assurez-vous d'étiqueter vos bagages et de les disposer dans les espaces prévus à cet effet.
Departure is at 7:35 a.m. on time, passing through the sidings adjacent to Paris-Bercy and Gare de Lyon. And as usual upon departure, today's trip map. Walking the train now. It's all the same internally, as these multiple units are single class. The bright side, there are no surprises and you can choose whichever seat you want. They're all the same. For storage, There are luggage racks above the seats, and this space here as well. And we reach our first stop, Sens. Sens isn't a giant city with less than 30,000 inhabitants, but it has an old cathedral that started being built in the 12th century and a classic town center. Anyway, it has enough traffic to justify a stop on this train.
Destination Lyon Part-Dieu.
Back inside, let me show you the seats. There are arms which can be moved at will, individual reading lights, power sockets, and a small table for a laptop or a sandwich. The smooth blind is also welcome. Overall, it's practical and the seats are quite okay. Now, as the trip continues, a little history of this classic route. The story of this classic line begins in the mid-19th century. This line, linking Paris with Lyon, was opened in stages between 1849 and 1856, when the final passage between Lyon-Vez and Lyon Paris was completed. It was such an important link for France that it earned the title of the Imperial Line. In that era, the great PLM company was formed and France entered the age of grand railway growth. Electrification came later, in phases. During the early 20th century, several experiences tested different electrification systems, but eventually, in the 1920s, a standard of 1500-volt direct current was adopted, being that the reason why this line, as well as most of the lines south of Paris, are electrified with this system. The choice made sense at the time, because that was the state of the art and the existing industrial and hydropower installations supported it. In a way, France was a victim of its own success. Having electrified early left it with a legacy system that later generations found less convenient than newer high-voltage alternating current options. Later, the standard was changed, but that was still a few decades in the future. Although projects existed since the 1920s, the line from Paris to Lyon was electrified in stages between 1949 and 1952, with the catenary reaching Marseille 10 years later. Over the decades, the Paris-Lyon line was continually upgraded, with heavier rails, better bridges, and improved signaling. After all, this was the main line connecting the two main cities of the country, which was reflected in this route, hosting France's fastest and most prestigious express trains, including, of course, the elegant, fast and much celebrated Le Mistral, introduced in 1950, for decades regarded as the flagship of the French network and at one time the fastest scheduled long-distance train in the world. In its last schedule, in 1981, it took 3 hours and 46 minutes to cover the 511 kilometers between the Gare de Lyon in Paris and Lyon Paris. Everything changed with the high-speed era. The high-speed line Sud-Est opened in 1981, and TGV services dramatically cut Paris-Lyon times. But that's another line and another video. For the Imperial Line, it meant that the great express trains of the time disappeared and it was left to serve regional, local and freight needs, although some TGVs still use it, but of course at conventional line speeds. And this is the key point here. The line didn't die when high-speed arrived, it changed roles. Freed from the pressure of having so much traffic and at different speeds, this line where we're traveling today was allowed to better serve slower trains connecting the stations of the line and freight services. So, When we ride this line today, we can think about its past and glory. Early industrial ambition in the 1840s, the electrical experiments that led to its electrification at 1500-volt direct current, mid-century prestige expresses like the Mistral, and finally the TGV revolution of the 1980s that recarved the map of French rail travel. Each era was a step on technological advancement for the French railways, and this line was always a star in that process. And with all this, we're already in Dijon, almost 3 hours and about 314 kilometers from Paris. Here, the train stops for 24 minutes, a useful buffer to absorb delays and give passengers a chance to stretch their legs. Then we're back underway. A quick programming note while we roll. When I filmed this in February 2025, this early morning Paris-Lyon service still existed. Timetables have since changed, and trains from Paris-Bercy to Lyon Part-Dieu now depart later in the day at 3:35 p.m. and 5:28 p.m., but the journey itself is unchanged. Our last stop before Lyon is Saint-Germain-au-Mont d'Or, a small village near the limits of the Lyon metro area. From here, we're only about 17 kilometers from the city.
Destination Lyon Part-Dieu. Prochain arrêt Lyon Part-Dieu.
Crossing the Rhône River tells us that Part-Dieu is just around the corner. The city is close and the trip is nearly over.
Mesdames et messieurs, nous vous informons que la descente s'effectuera à gauche dans le sens de la marche.
Notre train Mobigo arrive en gare de Lyon Part-Dieu. Terminus du train en train, tous responsables. Avant de descendre, assurez-vous d'emporter vos bagages et effets personnels. Nous espérons que vous avez effectué un agréable voyage et vous souhaitons une bonne journée.
And finally, after 5 hours and 9 minutes, we arrive at Lyon Part-Dieu at 12:44, right on time. Opened in 1983, Part-Dieu is today the center of Lyon's train services, with connections across France and also internationally to Belgium, Germany, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Italy and Spain. This level of connectivity underlines Lyon's role as France's second city. Now, what are my impressions of this trip? Even though the older Corail sets offered a higher level of comfort, these electric multiple units aren't uncomfortable and they offer all the basic amenities you need. What is sorely missed, though, is a vending machine with at least water and a few snacks. Otherwise, the scenery is entertaining and the power outlets allow for the use of laptops, tablets or smartphones all the way. Is this a solid alternative to the TGV? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for riding with me on today's journey all the way to the end. If you enjoyed the trip, don't forget to like, subscribe, share and drop a comment below. It really helps the channel grow and keeps these rail adventures rolling, always with a bit of history and technology. Thanks for coming along, and I'll see you next week.